The movie begins with a slideshow of different strange cases registered from the early 20th to the end. In Tahun, 1972, Jiangsu, Hunan, found the bodies of women who were already thousands of years old, their bodies still intact. In 1974, fossils of animals were unknown in Mount Kunlun. In 1978, lecturer Archaeologist Research Laboratory of Shanghai, Yang Cia Lin, entered the mountain on his own and made a great discovery. In 1979, it was decided that the organization by the name of Post 749 had complete control of the implementation of the research. In 1979, on the mountain Kunlun located in China, a large group of miners were laboring away while singing motivating songs. Hu Ba Yi, one of the miners, falls from exhaustion and dehydration, requiring immediate medical attention. A paramedic by the name of Yang Ping hurries toward him and gives him some water to quench his thirst. After his supervisor drags him up and pushes him to get back to work, Hu Ba Yi turns around and looks at the beautiful woman, leaving an impression in his heart. After transporting his load, Hu Ba Yi watches as the people drag a giant skull out of the caves, one that has never been seen before. A few seconds later, a loud explosion shakes the caves the skull had emerged out of, the impact destroying every item in meters around it. After the incident, the leaders of the expedition ask for a few volunteers to go deep inside the cave and discover what had caused the explosion. Amongst the 24 or so volunteers were Yang Ping and Hu Ba Yi. After venturing inside the cave and walking a long distance, they come up to a large hole leading deep into the ground. Tying ropes around their waist, each man dives into the holes, passing through large ice caves and witnessing huge fossils of unknown beasts. Upon reaching the base, they go through the vast expanse of the ice cave until they reach an exit. Stepping outside, they are greeted by an expansive snowy landscape that stretches beyond the limits of their vision. As they press onward, they notice small airborne creatures fluttering about. Curiosity gets the better of one of the soldiers, urging him to seize one of the small flyers. In a horrifying instant, his body is engulfed in flames, disintegrating along with anyone who tries to help him. Startled, the soldiers start shooting at the creatures in an attempt to keep them from touching them. Although the creatures manage to claim the lives of some, most escape without being burned alive. An avalanche rolls down the mountain, forcing them to run for their lives. As most of their group is swallowed by the avalanche, a few of them make it to the edge of the cliff and are forced to jump. As they slide down, the glassy surface of the ice is too smooth for them to stop, and most fall into darkness, and some are impaled on the ice. Yang Ping and Hu Ba Yi remain hanging on an extended ice cap, dangling another endless cliff and awaiting their inevitable deaths. As Hu Ba Yi regains consciousness and notices Yang Ping observing him, it becomes clear that Yang Ping's father, the leader of the expedition, Wang Kai-shuan, has also managed to survive. Grabbing torches from their fallen brethren, they walk on in an attempt to find a way to leave the wretched place. After walking for a while, they finally arrived inside a giant chamber with what looked like a huge temple in the center of it. Looking at it in awe, Wang Kai-shuan kneels to the ground in an attempt to show respect and tells them that they have finally arrived at the temple of the level 9th demon. Kneeling, he lights the giant candle attached to the ground that ignites a large fire like a whip that almost reaches the ceiling. Wang Kai-shuan then orders his daughter and Hu Ba Yi to go inside the temple. When they walk in, the sealed part of the roof opens and a bright light shines upon it, causing the entire place to shake and igniting a blue light from the very top. While they watched, blue floating lights in the shape of humans came out of the temple doors just before Sun Quan Fu extinguished the light. Once the light goes out, the levitating objects start to fall and the spirits all disappear. Disturbed by the sudden change in the environment, the small flying creatures are unleashed from inside the temple, heading straight toward them. In an attempt to save Hu Ba Yi, Sun Quan Fu stays behind to fight off the creatures and dies. When they reach the end of the cave, they are only able to find a large waterfall meters deep. As the creatures catch up to them, Hu Ba Yi tries to protect the others, waving his arm around to fend them off, but one of them touches him, engulfing his back in fire. In an attempt to save him, Yang Ping pushes him into the water before she and her father jump in as well. In the water, while Yang Ping and Hu Ba Yi are trying to swim to each other, a giant sea dinosaur comes out of nowhere and bites Yang Ping's legs, dragging her into the abyss. Unable to save her, Hu Ba Yi gets out of the water and escapes the dangerous land. Finally returning to his camp after sustaining several injuries, injuries, Hu Baiyi is asked about the group of people that accompanied him, and he sadly explains that they were all dead. After returning to the city, Hu Baiyi gets a job as a librarian, the pay being a room to live in and food. On the first day on the job, his supervisor takes him out for lunch in a Western restaurant with menus he has never seen before. While eating, he gets a surprise from an old friend he hadn't seen in a long time. One evening, while working in the library, Hu Baiyi stumbles upon a book written by lecturer Jung, the expedition leader. Going through it, Hu Baiyi realizes that the lecturer had always known his daughter would be able to enter the level 9 demon's lair as they had done, and finds out that it was his plan all along. Hu Baiyi continues to secretly receive books written by lecturer Jung and starts to learn about the humanoid creatures from the demon realm. He also tries to discover why only he and Yang Ping were able to open the demon tower. Months later, during another expedition into the tomb of the Han dynasty, they find a coffin with a woman still alive in it, and they identify her as Yang Ping. They took her to their special facility and tied her up, watching as she trashed around, her elongating nails extending and retracting. 3 years later, another unexpected discovery was made when the facility workers discovered lecturer Jung in a tomb 2,000 miles from the mountain of the first expedition. A few days after Jung's return, the country begins getting attacked by large demon creatures. During the attack, Hu Baiyi feels an unexpected pain all over his body and is forced to go to the hospital. After receiving an X-ray test, it is discovered that his collarbones, where the little flying creatures had attacked him, were completely changed, and his results were sent to the facility without his knowledge. Professor Jung speaks to the facility head, Han Ju Yang, and tells him that he thinks the demons rose when they accidentally opened the demon tower, then asks permission to investigate further, to which Han Ju Yang explains that he needs some time to think about. One night, while Hu Baiyi is studying in the library, he suddenly gets flashes of the traumatic expedition, which triggers something inside him and causes his bag to ignite the flame and allows him to access telekinetic powers. The library supervisor arrives, calm and collected, unsurprised to see Hu Baiyi's powers. When the man finally calms down, the librarian explains that his blood was contaminated by the fiery creature, which gave him magical powers. When Hu Baiyi asks how he knew all this, then with unexplained powers, transforms the entire place, morphing reality. The place changes into a giant tomb with blurry men standing guard, which Su Li explains were the protectors of Prince Yi. Su Li explains that 10,000 years ago, new creatures suddenly started to appear on Earth, which were the inhabitants of the Demon Tower 9. Within the confines of the facility, Chairman Han receives news that Yang Ping, now referred to as Shirley, has regained consciousness and expresses a desire to speak with Hu Baiyi. Han approaches Hu Baiyi and proceeds to elaborate on the activities and discoveries made over the past 5 years. Han reveals his intention for Hu Baiyi to locate the professor who mysteriously vanished, with the assistance of Yang Ping, whom they have managed to locate. Unable to resist seeing Yang Ping, Hu Baiyi heads out to the location where the search party was gathered, accompanied by his childhood friend Wang Kai Xuan. When Hu Baiyi arrives, he is shocked to see Yang Ping alive and well. Once all the members of the search party have arrived, the group heads out. After a long journey, the group is separated by a terrible sandstorm. Hu Baiyi and Yang Ping, along with some of their soldiers, make it to a small town where all the inhabitants seem to be dead. Suddenly, they hear loud calls from their separated friends who tell them they have been attacked by frightening creatures. Although they are glad to have their friends back, they are startled by the loud growling of the ferocious creatures. When they start to notice the large beasts approaching them, the group tries to do its best to stick together and shoot them down. Seeing that Yang Ping had run off with purpose, Hu Baiyi follows her and arrives at the tomb the librarian had shown him. As soon as he arrives, he is attacked by one of the large beasts and loses consciousness. Before the beast can harm him any further, Yang Ping drops from the ceiling and orders the monster to leave. She then picks up Hu Baiyi with her telekinetic abilities and places him gently in the tomb. When Hu Baiyi wakes up, he finds himself in the 9th demon tower and has a vision of how Yang Ping was saved. He sees as the beast that had taken her from him delivers her to the tower where she is infused with a spirit that makes her whole again to bring forth the race of demons. Once the vision is over, a spirit with the face of Yang Ping orders him to open the tower. Refusing to let the demon race in, he tells her to return him to his world so he can save his friends. While trying to save the remaining people, Hu Baiyi is attacked by the beasts yet again, but they are stopped by a determined Yang Ping. While she is holding him in her arms, Hu Baiyi realizes the only way to save the human race is to kill the thing that is embodying Yang Ping. With tears falling from his eyes, he shoots her multiple times and watches her eyes widen with surprise. As soon as she is shot, the activated demon tower falls, causing all the demons on Earth turn to their realm. Seeing the blood in her hands, Yang Ping leans down before falling over and dying, her body transforming back into the cloth and features that Yang Ping had when she died. Devastated, Hu Baiyi starts to cry, thinking that he has lost the love of his life once more. Suddenly, he feels her hand touching his face as she gently calls out his name. Shocked, he gets up and cradles her in his arms. Picking her up, he carries her to the tomb that had saved him and places her inside, lying down next to her. In the final scenes, we hear Yang Ping telepathically communicate with Hu Baiyi, recounting her childhood. She explains that she and her mother were descendants of demons who disintegrated once they reached the age of 50. After seeing her Mother Day, Yang Ping's father decided to save his daughter and open the demon realm, finding Hu Baiyi in the process. Yang Ping's demonic abilities allowed her to save Hu Baiyi and her father in the caves, forcing her to use all of her life. After Yang Ping passes away, Hu Baiyi leaves her in the tomb as it is the perfect burial spot and returns to the city with his friends, having saved the world. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.